Now, normally, when you're going to be doing an editorial shoot, you are starting from zero. In my case, I'm going to show you how easy it is, again, to transfer one thing to another. Because if you're building your book or starting to work with new people or a new photographer and you want to get a whole lot of shots, it's very easy to do transitions. The other joy of it is, makeup always agrees with itself. You can always find ways to change or transform something. Because you might have a photographer you're working with who says, not enough, it needs something more, add a pop of color. There's 1,000 tiny little things that you can do. In this case, I'm going to talk to you about changing this to an editorial. So I've done a good clean makeup that's appropriate for a photo shoot, but let's say I was hired by MAC to do an ad for their liners. And in this case, we're going to talk about doing an ad for Blue Peep. So the best way I'm going to show it off, I think, is to really use it boldly and create a nice angled cat eye. So what I'm going to do to make it the star is create a cat eye with it. But before I do, I'm going to add a little definition into the eye to really show it off and make it something that's going to attract attention. And then we're going to work the Blue Peep in to give a nice bright pop of color. So we've got a good even face, one that we've already set up, and I'm going to take some eyeshadow and I'm going to go in and play a little bit and make some magic. So right across the lid, first and foremost, I'm going to add a little bit of brightness. Notice I'm only going about 2/3 of the way across the lid because I still want that darkness out at the outer corner. I want, when I get to that outer edge with that Blue Peep, I want it to really speak for itself. And when it speaks, I want it to speak loudly. I want it to shout, because that's what we're trying to sell. When you work with an editorial, you have to tell a story. It depends on what the story is. Sometimes the story is about the product, like, look how fabulous that looks. It's so bright. It does interesting, unique things to the eye. I want to buy it. Sometimes the editorial doesn't have to do anything with makeup at all. It can be about fashion. Sometimes it can be about making a statement. It can be about a million things. But the point is there's always some story to it. And our goal is to make people want to buy the product. So I'm brightening up the eyes. I'm going to take a little highlighter in a slightly different shade, and I'm going to accent the brow bone right there. Now remember, I said we're doing an ad for MAC. Now, MAC doesn't always have the, not that they don't, but their ads aren't always what we might call subtle. They tend to really make the makeup pop and make the makeup be the star. So in that respect, I'm keeping it a little subtle, but I'm also adding some pop. Now I'm going to take my blender brush and my taupe, close your eye for me, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to just define right through the crease, creating some nice definition in there. It's soft, it's easy, it blends. There. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a good, bright, bold eye, showing off what we're going to call the hero product. If there's a product that is the star of the show, the reason you've been hired, the thing that you're trying to sell, it's our hero. So now I'm going to use our hero. I'm going to use my tight liner brush. I'm going to take a good amount of product out. These tend to dry quickly, and they have a huge pigment load to them. So don't take out too much because it could dry right on your hand. Fill both sides of the brush. Make sure there are no clumps. Fill both sides. Get it good and full. Then I'm going to turn her head a little bit toward me. I'm going to work on this eye first. So keep your eye closed. I'm pulling up the lid because there's a little bit of a lip there. There always is. And I'm just going to paint it right across the lid. I'm starting out really thin. And I'm going to graduate in my thickness. I'm going to make up my mind about how thick I want it to be as I get there. So I'm going to swoop out. We're making this about the liner. So I'm going to graduate here, graduate up. This might also be one of those ads that, when it's all done and when they shoot it, sometimes you see and they've got someone looking slightly down to really show off the eyelid, or they have the eye open. It all depends. The photographer's going to take it in a whole assortment of ways. And anytime through the shoot, they could actually be changing their mind, telling you something, new or different that they want to do. You have to be ready and armed to meet those needs. So here I am, taking our little star, Blue Peep, and I am working her in. Okay, open your eye for me. So what you see that we've got there, we've got a cat eye that speaks for itself. It's got some brightness, it's got some boldness, but it also has some layers of color to keep it interesting, but it really starts to sell our hero product. So our hero product really stands out on her own.